Hi friends, I'm Steph Gongora, and welcome to Intermediate Shoulder Mobility and Basic Heart Opening or Backbending. Today we're going to be focused on safely opening up the shoulders, but also finding stability in some of these more open ranges. The shoulder is a really complex joint, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. I know when I reached out on social media, the shoulders and finding shoulder strength and shoulder mobility is one of the topics that comes up again and again. So, hoping to address a few of those things in this class. There's always more to learn. This is a more intermediate style class. I will offer modifications to go back to basics, as well as a few opportunities to challenge yourself. But I wouldn't necessarily recommend this for someone who's brand new to yoga. You might want to try some of my other classes that are a little bit more beginner friendly. You will need some props for today's classes. If you practice with myself or my teaching partner, Erin Kelly, you know that we love props, and props can be used to make things harder or to make things easier, or both. And sorry, you will see the puppies running in and out. You'll probably hear jungle noises down here in Costa Rica, and it's kind of impossible to do any kind of longer filming thing without interruption. So the props you'll be needing today are a strap, and if you don't have a strap, a scarf. It doesn't have to be a stretchy one like this, or a men's tie works really well. And you're going to want either a blanket roll, or I have got a towel roll here. And I want a little bit more heart opening, so I've got two towels. And you want to make it a long one. Sometimes we make it more of those thinner rolls, but we're looking for one of those long rolls, not the little short squat ones. And then finally, you're either going to want a block, one block, or a large book. And we're just going to be using that for a little bit of weighted work. And then also, if you know you like having blocks under your hands at any time, it can be great to have those. And finally, a mat for your joints. And we're going to be getting started today on our long blanket roll in a variety of heart bench. A lot of times we lay with the blanket roll behind our shoulder blades, but this time we want to lay with it long ways so that it stretches all the way from about the top of your sacrum, and hopefully you still have space to put your head on the roll. And if you don't, you can always put that block underneath your head if you have a longer torso. And take your time to get comfortable. So what this does is kind of preserve the natural curve in our low back. And you can keep the legs bent, the feet about hip distance apart, knees knocking in. Even lengthen the tailbone down just a little bit to lessen the bend in the low back. And then what we want to do with our arms here is take them out to cactus. And hopefully this will be comfortable for you to release and relax the elbows down onto the earth. And then just close your eyes. And if it's not comfortable, your chest is feeling tight, you can always decrease the blanket roll height that you're laying on, or find some additional pillows or blankets to put under your elbows, because you want to be in a place where you can just soften into this practice and soften into your breath. And let's start with that. Just noticing the breath, not yet changing it. Feeling how the inhale, whether it's shallow or deep, gently lifts the sternum towards the sky. Maybe balloons the belly up just a little bit. And how every exhale drips that navel, that belly button back down towards the spine and softens the ribs in back towards the torso. We're going to be starting with an intricate and detailed warm-up and then moving into a progressive or a ladder flow. Again, if you know my style of teaching or my co-teaching with Erin, you know that we love details, we love alignment, and some of these little drills that might not be that fun can make big differences. It's all about safely and intentionally doing the work. And when we're looking at the shoulders, we also need a lot of patience. For a lot of us, this is an area that's really tight. Maybe it's tight and weak. Maybe it's tight and strong. One isn't necessarily better than the other. Obviously, we'd love to go for mobile and strong, and not necessarily, when I say mobile, do I mean hyper flexibility or this inability to stabilize, because that's what we're always trying to balance with the shoulder, right? Is having the flexibility to get into these postures and, of course, to do our daily activities, but also the stability to hold ourselves together. Because the shoulder, while we think about it as one joint, is actually made up of multiple. 3 if we're being specific, but we think about 2 mostly, and that's the scapula, or the shoulder blade on the back, and how that can move around. and then the upper arm bone or the humerus up into the socket of the arm, which is similar, right, to the socket of the leg, except that it's also very different. The cavity or the hole that the arm bone fits into is a lot more shallow than the hip, which means we get a lot more mobility, and that's great. Our arms can do a lot more than our legs as far as moving behind, reaching all around us in so many different directions. But it's not as stable because our legs, they need to hold that whole weight of our upper body. They hold us up for most of the day, or they should. And our arms, even if we're practicing a lot of inversions, they don't necessarily hold most of our body weight a lot of the time. But in yoga, they do for some of the time. So we need to learn how to not only stretch, but safely stabilize the joint. So we'll be talking a lot about the balance of strength and flexibility in today's class, and also this idea of passive versus active flexibility. Because when we think about passive flexibility, we may think about flopping into a puppy pose, just pressing our chest to the ground, using the weight of our body to get us there, not using the muscles. But is that really helping us? If we can't turn on and stabilize the muscles in some of these positions, are we really doing ourselves any good, or are we just setting ourselves up for injury in the future? Continuing to follow your breath here, perhaps feeling the front of the chest open a little bit more, trying to soften as much as you can, dripping the shoulders down towards the earth, soften the space between your eyebrows, soften your jaw. Some of these muscles in the chest, which do affect the shoulders, such as pec minor, which sits under your pec major, or that main chest muscle that we think about, can really only be stretched with this soft, passive, lengthy time spent over these blanket rolls or these blocks. So we're just trying to lightly get into there so that different aspects of our arm and our shoulder complex aren't holding us back necessarily. So while we work on this balance of strength and flexibility today, we'll also be pulling from the core and the power of the legs so that we can round out our heart openers and our full body postures, so we can take pressure off of the shoulder joint in general. Because our shoulders, again, think about them compared to the legs. They're much smaller. We can't expect of them to do all of this work, and we shouldn't have to. Our legs are powerful, our core is powerful, our back body is powerful. So let's recruit those other parts of the body so that we can start to take that pressure off the shoulders and work on that safe balance of strength and flexibility, aiming always for this active mobility, or what can we do in a safe range of motion while also maintaining some kind of muscular work. You can keep your eyes closed here if that feels good, perhaps starting to deepen the breath lightly. If you practice Ujjayi and you'd like to do a slight constriction of the back of the throat to warm the breath, you're welcome to, but any kind of measured breathing that keeps you calm and aware is suggested. Never force one kind of breathing on yourself or your students. The breath is supposed to be a tool, and if it becomes something that we consistently worry about, it is doing the opposite of what we're looking for. If you do want to keep your eyes open, perhaps keep them half-lidded, gently blinking them open, staring between your eyelashes. And we're just going to do a little bit of flossing work of the arms. So keeping the cactus shape, just slowly lift them up, cross the right elbow over the left, open them back towards the ground, towards cactus. Slowly lift them up, cross this time the left elbow over the right, open, maybe starting to move with the breath here. So as we inhale, we lift the arms up, crossing the elbows, and as we exhale, we open them back up. Inhale to lift, maybe they start to cross a little bit more. Exhale to open. Inhale, lift, cross. Exhale, open, cactus. Keep going at your own pace, rotating back and forth, one elbow over the other. And while you're doing this, see if you can start to pay attention to the rest of your body too. Lengthen the tailbone down slightly. You may feel like a gentle tuck. As we pull the pelvis into a slightly more neutral position, perhaps that makes you feel your belly turn on just a little bit and tighten. Can you keep that so that the motions are going towards the shoulder and the arm and they're not just going into the back? One more time on each side. On the next time you get back to the cactus position, as you inhale, extend the arms up overhead, reach long through the fingers, allow the shoulders to come up by the ears, and as you exhale, pull back, cactus position, drip the shoulders down, long neck, pull the elbows in close to the side body. Inhale, sweeps the arms up, reach long through the fingertips, allow the shoulders to come up by the ears, shrink the neck. Exhale, cactus, and then pull your elbows in close to the side body, drag your shoulders down, long neck. Inhale up. Reach long. Exhale, elbows in, neck long. Inhale, sweeps them back up. Is your belly still turned on? Exhale, pull the elbows down. One more time, keep that low belly turned on. Inhale, arms sweep up, lengthen the tailbone down, away from your fingertips. Hold here. Reach your fingertips so far away from your tailbone. Pull your tailbone down, suck your low belly in gently. Keep the position of the pelvis. Exhale, pull your elbows in towards your side body. Roll your shoulders down and together as if you could gently squeeze the blanket roll or the towel roll behind your back. Push the back of your skull into the mat, almost like you're giving yourself a light double chin. Feel the cervical spine turn on. Squeeze that blanket roll and think about dragging your shoulder blades down towards your hip points. Feel your back body light up as it tries to curl you into a little ball, but you are stopping this by the pull of the tailbone down and the pressure of the back of the skull into the mat. One more breath. And as you exhale, soften and release. Roll enough to one side so that you can remove the blanket roll and put it off to the side. You won't really need it unless you want it under your knees later. And just lie back flat for one moment here. Feel the flush of the back body down on the mat, that space you created. You can take your arms back out to cactus. See how that chest area is feeling. We have to have patience with our shoulders. They can feel different from day to day. And also, if they do start out tight, whether that's weak and tight or strong and tight, it's going to take some time to safely open them and not just break through some of those myofascial adhesions or the scar tissue that we've created through weeks, years, decades of patterns and hard work. Reach your arms up overhead. Give yourself a little stretch. Pull your knees in towards your low belly. Take your hands to your shins and begin to rock up and down along the spine. You can rock slightly on either side of your vertebrae here so that you're rolling along those muscles, those erector that line your back body. They're really important for pulling us into extension, but also just our posture. And they tend to get a little stretched out, get some micro tears from modern life as we slump over our computers or our desks or the car or the couch all day, rocking all the way up to a seat. And then coming into Vajrasana, knees together, feet together. Now, if this isn't comfortable for you, you can always sit on a block, or you can take that blanket roll and place it underneath your sit bones on top of your heels and sit back, because we will be here for a little while. Sprinkle your right fingertips outside of your right hip. Sit up straight and tall. And as you do so, set your pelvis. I'm going to talk a lot about that throughout this class. And what I mean by that is we have a tendency to just kind of let things get a little crazy with our core and our low back. And that means we're not getting the stretch elsewhere because we're going into our naturally flexible areas. So I want you to think about lengthening your sit bones down, squeezing them lightly together, toning your outer hips so you grow a little bit taller, almost like someone had a corset around your low belly and they were pulling you in and lifting you up. Now, as you do that, see if you can tuck the lower ribs in, because we have a tendency to flare them out. So can you lift and lengthen without breaking this rib line? So there's a little bit of lifting up through the sternum, but we want to keep those low ribs in. Hold that while we go through the next few postures. Sprinkle your right fingertips outside of your right hip. Inhale your left arm up and over. Stretch it towards the right. Keep the tailbone lightly lengthening down. Pull your right shoulder away from your ear. Find space in that side body. You can gently send your gaze up under your left tricep and use the power of your breath to find a little bit of space. Inhaling to lengthen, exhaling to bend a little bit deeper. Inhaling to lengthen, exhaling to pull your navel towards your spine. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, pull your navel towards your spine and spin towards the right, taking your left hand outside of your right knee. Use the pressure of the hand on the knee and the knee on the hand to pull yourself up a little bit taller and spin a little bit deeper. Both knees stay facing towards the front of the mat. Squeeze your legs together to turn on your inner thighs. And the gaze follows the direction that the sternum is pointing, so there's no need to crank the neck around here. Every time you inhale, think about that length. Think about that corseting while keeping those low ribs in. And every time you exhale, pull the navel to the spine, create space to twist a little bit deeper. Upper body is corkscrewing up into the right. Lower body is drilling down into the left. So we're wringing ourselves out like a towel here. One more inhale. And exhale, release back to center. Setting up for the other side, reset. Squeeze the sit bones lightly together. Tone the outer hips. You can even feel them. Are they turning on? Are they working? Core set yourself. Left fingertips outside of left hip. And you can always put those on a block too. Inhale the right arm up and slightly over towards the left. Drop the left shoulder down away from your ear. Use the breath here. Inhaling to find some side body length. Exhaling to bend a little bit deeper, but we're keeping length through both side waists here. So not just the one where you feel the stretch on the right side, but you also want to think about lengthening up through that left side waist. Squeeze the legs together. Did you forget about them? I did. Maybe gazing up under the right tricep. Take one more inhale. And as you exhale, pull your navel towards your spine, spin towards the left, hook your right hand outside of your left knee. Use that pressure of hand on knee, knee on hand to spin a little bit deeper. Squeeze the legs together, keep them pointing towards the front. Gaze follows the direction that your sternum is pointing. Again, we're wringing ourselves out here as the upper body spins to the left and the lower body drills down to the right. Twists are so wonderful for pretty much every posture, but especially warming up the spine for things like back bends. So always nice to have some twists both at the beginning and the end and sprinkled throughout as needed. We just want to make sure we're twisting in the part of our spine that likes it. So we set the low belly and the pelvis so that the twist goes a little higher into the mid back or the thoracic, because that's where our spine likes to rotate, not in the low back. One more breath here. And as you exhale, slowly release towards center. All right. Grab your block or your book. I have a book here. The blocks are all down at the retreat center. I didn't feel like getting it. You're probably not going to like this drill. I apologize. Reset on the bottom half. So tone the outer hips. Squeeze the feet lightly towards the midline. Squeeze your inner thighs towards the midline. Corset yourself. Basket the low ribs in. Roll your shoulder blades up and back. I know there's a lot of things to think about. If you find that it becomes overwhelming at any time, just focus on 1 to 2 that feel the most important to you. And you can try another 2 next time you try this video. Take your block between your hands, push your hands into your block, and extend your arms away from you. So what we're trying to do here is keep the nice straight stack of the spine, keep the low belly pulled in, and see if we can turn on those underarms, those triceps, which don't get a ton of work in yoga. So if you're doing this with a friend, they can tap them, you can look at them, but you really get them to turn on by pressing your hands into the block or the book here. Of course, if you have a wood block or a bamboo block, or just a heavy book, then you're going to get the added benefit of that. Now let's play a little bit with the shoulders, because we talked about how the shoulders are both the upper arm bone in the shoulder socket as well as the shoulder blades setting. So we're going to play with the shoulder blades a little bit, keeping everything steady and strong on the bottom half. Think about pushing your block away from you until you can feel your shoulder blades separate in protraction. So you feel space come between your shoulder blades and the upper back round slightly. Now as you exhale, think about plugging your upper arm bones back into your shoulder socket and squeezing your shoulder blades gently together. That's a retraction. Inhale, reach forward. Exhale, suck them back in. Inhale, reach forward. Exhale, suck them back in. Now keep going at your own pace with your own breath, and make sure that this movement is coming just from the upper body. We're not flopping around below because we've set the low belly and the pelvis. Keep squeezing the block so that we turn on the triceps. I told you weren't going to like it. Keep going. 2 more. Just warming up all the shoulder areas and the joints and the muscles around them. And the next time you plug your arms in, leave them there. Set the pelvis, pull the tailbone down long. See if you can keep the triceps turned on as you gently lift the arms up overhead. At some point, yes, your shoulder blades are not going to be able, you're not going to be able to plug your upper arm bones completely into the shoulder socket. So allow that to release a little bit. But lifting the book up overhead, squeezing it, or the block if you have a block, up overhead. How high can you get without breaking the line? So without allowing the chest to come out and the ribs to flare, keep the low ribs pulled in. Can you lightly pulse the block or the book behind you? And again, this is what we're talking about with this active mobility. I'm having to use the power of the shoulders here because everything else is set, right? I've got my hips turned on, I've got my low belly turned on, my pelvis is set, I'm holding my ribs back, I'm not just letting them flare open to find that extra space. So it's just the power of the arms here that's pulsing them back behind me. Keep going, keep breathing, keep pulling the low ribs in. It doesn't matter where your arms are today, work in your range of active mobility. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, slowly release. Put your block off to the side. I apologize about that. Roll your shoulders. Roll your wrists. Maybe roll one at a time. Any wiggles that you need, any jiggles that you need, that can be a lot, even just on the forearms, which is, not, again, not something that unfortunately we work a lot in yoga. Grab your strap. Reset your bottom half. And if you, anytime, this gets to be too much on the knees or on the ankles, you've got your blanket you can sit on or your block book. Grab your strap. About 3 feet between the hands on the strap, and you're pulling apart. You don't have to have a stretchy strap. Again, we want to set the lower body because we're going to do some shoulder circles here, and what tends to happen is we just lift up and we run out of natural flexibility, and so we're like, okay, and we break the line, we break our ribs out, we bust the belly forward, and we just use the other parts of our body to get that flexibility, and we think we're stretching the shoulders, but we're usually not. Or we hyperextend through the elbows, which if you have hypermobile joints like me, it's not really particularly fun or good for your body over time. So let's set the pelvis, set the low belly, corset ourselves up without losing this basketing in of the low ribs. So that's turning on your rectus abdominis, the upper fibers of it, to help pull your low ribs in. Hands on the strap. Pull them apart. Bend the elbows. Turn on the triceps if you can. That's a little extra fun challenge here. And then begin to lift the strap up overhead. Now, if you get to a point where you cannot bring it any higher, fine. Just sit there and breathe. Never force your shoulders. We don't want to feel pain here. We don't want to impinge the joints at all. But do not sacrifice the line of the spine and holding the ribs in just to get it through. Now, if you can get it through, gently squeezing the shoulder blades together. Work all the way down to the sacrum. And then back over. Moving slowly here, moving evenly, pulling evenly with both arms, keeping a bend in the elbows. Keep going, keep breathing, staying in those sticky bits, lengthening the tailbone down, keeping the legs turned on, keeping the belly turned on. If this is too easy, walk your hands in. If it's too hard, walk your hands out. But again, never sacrificing the line or breaking the ribs and splaying them forward, letting the low belly drop, hyperextending through the elbows. If it feels good and safe in your body, you can start to add some stretches from side to side when you're behind the head, keeping the bend in the elbows, only if this feels safe on your shoulders. I like to stretch my shoulders in all different directions because, again, the shoulders, we ask them to move all different directions when we reach for things behind, in front of us, around side of us during the day. Just a couple more seconds here, so if you want to do a few more circles, feel free to do so. I do these pretty much every practice, no matter what I'm doing for that practice. And as you're ready, set your strap off to the side. And just another few moments here on our legs. If you want to make this a little extra torturous, you can take this into broken toe or fire toes, as sometimes it's called. That's just if you want to stretch the feet here, you want those extra credit bonus points. Tucking all your toes underneath you, hugging your ankles in towards the midline, toning the outer hips, belly in, sitting as much weight as you can back onto your heels, which might feel a little bit intense if you're used to wearing heels or you just have tight arches. Rolling your shoulders down and back behind you. First up towards your ear, and then down and back and together. Up towards your ear, down and back and together. And notice as you do this, if you can keep the torso nice and set, or if you started flapping already. So just tuning into what our natural habits are so that we can start to change them. Next time your shoulders roll back and together, keep them there. Take your hands behind your back, bind them at your sacrum. Now, if that's not comfortable, you do have your strap. You can grab that. Hug your elbows in towards the midline. Keep the elbows bent. Push your thumbs into your sacrum. Roll your shoulders up by your ears, then down, back, and together. Push the back of your skull back gently. Again, think about giving yourself that really light double chin, but you're also holding an orange between your chin and your sternum, so you're not ducking your chin in too much. You're just pressing the back of your skull back. We have a tendency to drop our head forward. Forward head carriage. Push the back of your skull back. Push your thumbs into your sacrum. Turn on your arms here in this position. Maybe you walk your fists to the right side of your body. Hug your elbows in towards the midline. Drop your shoulders down away from your ears. Beautiful. Tilt your right ear towards your right shoulder without hiking that right shoulder up. Now you might feel a deep stretch along the left side of your neck. You're stretching out some of the muscles that stretch from the neck to the shoulder and the clavicle. If it feels too intense, you can take your head back up to straight. Keep dropping the right shoulder down away from the ear. Hug your navel in towards your spine. Did you forget about your feet? I didn't. One more inhale here. And as you exhale, tilt the head back. Walk your hands to the other side, to the left. Hug your elbows in. Drop both your shoulders away from your ears. This time, drop your left ear towards your left shoulder. If it's not enough, if you're not feeling anything, really think about pulling that right shoulder down and away from you, and maybe even tilt the chin up towards the top left corner of your mat. You can even do, sometimes people recommend an underbite here. So reaching forward with the chin, giving yourself an underbite to stretch out those muscles of the neck. One more inhale. And as you exhale, release. Oh, hello, toes. I'm sorry. Take your hands gently in front of you. Untuck your toes really slowly. Sorry. Oh, crunchy feet. Lean backwards for just a moment here, lifting the knees. If that feels comfortable on your knees and your ankles, squeezing your legs together to stretch out the top of the feet. Take an inhale. And exhale, come forward into tabletop. Couple more warm-ups and we'll get flowing. Take a minute here to set up your tabletop. It's something that Erin and I tend to be really picky about. In fact, I thought about making a peak pose posture to work up to tabletop because that would be fun. And tabletop can be a terrible pose if you really work on it. Shoulders underneath, or shoulders above your wrists, hips above your knees. Turn your hands out 5 to 10 degrees from the midline so your middle fingers are pointing towards the top corners of your mat. That just gives you a little bit more wrist mobility and helps us push down through the inner edges of the hands a little bit, which is really important for our wrists, the safety of our wrists, and turning on the muscles in the forearms to stabilize. Hug your knees in lightly towards the midline. Wing your elbows out wide. And then wrap them towards the back of the mat. But keep a micro bend here, and a micro bend that's so big, or maybe not micro at all, that you can actually see it in your arms. So there's a bend there, so the muscles are turned on. Hug your forearms towards the midline like you were squeezing an imaginary block between them. Pull your navel in and up, and knit those low ribs in. Beautiful. Tilt the shoulders past the wrists. Keep the navel hugged in and up. As you inhale, peel the right palm off the ground, leaving the whole length of the fingers on the ground. As you exhale, press it down slowly like you were squishing a tennis ball. Inhale the left palm up. Exhale, lower. Inhale, right palm. The whole fingers stay on the ground. Exhale, lower. Inhale, left. Exhale, lower. Now you can keep going one at a time, or you can inhale, lift both palms. At the same time, exhale, lower. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. The shoulders are leaned slightly past the wrists. The core is turned on, and I'm lifting and lowering both palms at the same time here. So I'm warming up all the stabilizer muscles in my forearms that help to protect my wrists. Because even though we're not doing something like inversions today, we are doing downward facing dog, some plank, some wild thing, and those are all really hard on the wrists. Our wrists are not our ankles, right? But we ask a lot of them in yoga and ask them to act as if they are. You guys might feel your forearms starting to light up and burn. Mine sure are. Keep going. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. If you need to shake it out, you can turn your wrists in different positions. Finding some movement here, maybe facing the fingers in and rocking back and forth. Or one that always feels good to me, facing the fingers back behind you and carefully rocking your sit bones back towards your heels. So giving yourself a little stretch. Beautiful. Then come back into your standard tabletop. Take a second here, wing your elbows wide. Wrap them towards the back of the mat. Think about even your shoulders here. What are they doing? Pull your shoulders away from your ears so you have a nice long neck. Ponytail was the wrong choice today. As you inhale, I want you to think about clawing your fingers into the mat like you're sucking the ground up like they're straws. Feel the palms lift as the fingertips dig in. Root down through the inner edges of the hands. Now press your hands down and drag them towards your knees. Drag them back so much that the heart starts to pull through the biceps. Tilt the tailbone up towards the sky, but keep the navel engaged. Push the back of the skull back. Pull your shoulder blades down and together. Keep the navel engaged here. Find yourself on an exhale. And when you're there, start to push the ground down and away from you. Claw your fingertips still. Puff up the back of the heart. Tuck the chin in for cat pose. Suck your navel towards your spine as if you could touch the space between your shoulder blades up towards the ceiling. Find yourself on an inhale. Reverse that motion. Pull your heart through your biceps. Tilt your tailbone up, but keep the navel pulled in to protect the low back. Exhale, cat pose. Inhale, pulls you back through for cow. Exhale, cat. 2 more on your own breath. Making sure even when you're in cat pose or cow pose that you're not locking out through the elbows. You're not hyperextending. You're keeping that tricep wrap that we did at the beginning of class where we pulled the elbows towards the back of the mat and kept a micro bend. The next time you're in cat pose, stay there, puff the back of the heart up towards the sky, tuck the toes, puff, 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 so much so that you can hover in the knees, keep the micro bend in the elbows, don't lock out, pushing the hands down and away from you, push the ground away from you so much the hips come up and back, downward facing dog. First down dog of the practice. Take a few moments here to pedal it out. Whatever your body needs, bending one leg or both, swiveling your heels from side to side to get a side body stretch. This is whatever you need, whatever your body needs. If that's stillness, go for it. And once you're ready over the next breath or so, the bugs. Find your way back to downward facing dog in a stationary manner. Root down through the inner edges of the hands. They should still be turned out about 5 to 10 degrees if that feels comfortable for you. Wing your elbows wide and then wrap them towards the back of the mat, keeping the micro bend and feeling this space grow between your shoulder blades. You might actually have to back out of your downward facing dog to do this. Down dog is one of those places we dump into natural flexibility. We think, I have to get my chest to the floor, and we squeeze our shoulder blades together in a not very safe position, right? So in order for the upper arm bone, the humerus, to be set nicely into the socket, we have to keep a little bit of space between our shoulder blades. So that's the idea of hugging the elbows in, and that counterbalances with the squeeze of the shoulder blades. So we're not able to over squeeze because we're hugging the elbows in. So think about that. You can keep a bend in the knees here. Think about length through the spine more than anything else. The head is loose between the biceps. One more breath here. And then as you find yourself on an exhale, push your hands down just like we did in cat-cow and start to drag them towards the back of the mat. Drag them so much until you start to pull yourself into a plank pose, but it's the arms doing the work. Exhale, push your way back to downward facing dog. Again, the arms are doing the work here. Inhale, pull yourself back to plank. No worrying about rounding through the spine here. We're just focusing the arms. Exhale, push back downward facing dog. Hands push down and away from you. Last time, inhale, pull the hands down and back towards the toes. Finding your way to plank. You might shake a little bit. I sure am. Slowly lower the knees. And make your way back to a tabletop position here. So you might need to reset so that your shoulders are over your wrists and your hips are over your knees. Okay, let's start a little bit of movement here and start building this ladder flow. Leave your left leg as it is. Take your right leg and turn it out about 45 degrees so that the toes point towards the back right corner, so you're internally rotating the legs, all right? We're turning the bottom of the foot out, we're turning the knee in, internal rotation. Keep everything as it is. Really think here about lengthening the tailbone down. We have a tendency to dump into the low back here in our tabletop position, especially when we start to lift the leg. So keep everything nice and strong. Set the low body, and at that angle, lift the right leg. Ideally so that the thigh is parallel with the torso, but if you cannot lift the thigh parallel without losing the set of the pelvis, do not worry about it. The knee points back towards the back right corner of the mat. Even weight in the hands and the shoulders. Push down through the inner edges. We're just holding. Your foot can be flexed, pointed, or pointed. Your choice. No movement. Micro bend in the elbows, still not locking out. Pull your navel in and up. Maybe your glutes start to twitch a little bit or shake like mine. We're just turning on the low body while teaching the shoulders to help us stabilize. Try to keep that left hip stacked over the left knee. It has a tendency to wing over towards the left. And maybe you take some itty bitty tiny pulses, so small you can barely see them, of the right toes towards the sky. Again, without losing the set of the pelvis. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pull the right knee out to the side like you're a puppy peeing on a fire hydrant. Extend the leg, flex the foot. Place the foot down so the toes point forward. Reset, even weight the shoulders. Inhale, pull your heart through. Cow pose. Exhale, cat. Puff up through the back of the heart. Feel the shoulder blades separate. Inhale, pulls you through. Exhale, push your hands down and away. Puff, puff, puff. So much so that you can transfer the weight into your legs. Come up onto your fingertips and peel your way up. Whew. Root down firmly through the right foot, and not just root down, but push it in and drag it towards your left knee until you can start to feel your right inner thighs turn on. Take a gate pose here. Slide your right hand down your right leg. Don't push onto your knee. And extend your left arm up and over, just like we did in that side stretch. We're setting the pelvis here, so lengthen the tail down, pull the low belly in and up, knit the low ribs in. If you'd like to take a half bind here, you can wrap your right arm around until it hooks onto your left hip. Thinking about length through both side bodies. Take one more inhale. And as you exhale, come back up through center. We'll take the counter pose with the half bind. So this time, take your left arm up and around behind you. Hook it onto your right hip. And if it doesn't reach, that's fine. Just grab onto the back of your pants. Inhale your right arm up and over towards the left. Now, since we don't have our left arm on the ground like we usually do in this counter pose, we really have to think about lengthening through both side bodies and squeezing the legs together towards the midline to help us find the strength to balance. Pull your low belly in and up, lengthen your tailbone down, lean a little bit further. It's going to make it a little bit nastier. Reach with the crown of the head and the right arm. Reach with the right leg in the opposite direction, but also squeeze it in. There's all these counter motions in yoga. We're both reaching away with the right foot, but also hugging it in towards the left knee. I know it's very confusing. One more inhale. And as you exhale, rise back up to center. Inhale for length. Exhale, reach the hands down, coming back into your adjusted tabletop pose. Using the strength of the outer leg, lift the right leg back up. Exhale, pull your knee in towards your nose. Inhale, send the right leg back behind you. Bend the knee, stomp the right foot up towards the ceiling. If you want to do a few pulses here, you can. Remember, don't lose the set of the pelvis here just to get your foot a little bit higher. And keeping the left hand where it is, keep a micro bend, right hand where it is, keep a micro bend into that elbow, tent the left fingertips. Reach the left arm in front of you. Reach the left arm back and grab the inner edge of the ankle. You have your strap if you need it. Kick your right foot into your left hand. Lift your gaze, lift your heart. Keep a micro bend into the right arm. Tiger pose, hug your right knee in. Lengthen your tail down as much as you can here. Suck your navel in towards your spine to protect your low back. One more breath. Shoo. Slowly release. Straightening out the right leg, but not dropping it, dropping the left hand back towards the ground. Tuck the left toes. We're going to lift up to three-legged dog from here. So push your hands down and away from you. Wrap your elbow tips towards the back of the mat. Hover your left knee. And then using the strength of your right leg, pull yourself up and back. Phew. Three-legged dog. Great job, guys. Take a minute here to floss it out. So bend into the right knee and just take some circles through the right hip. Nice. And one more circle, and then leave the right hip open. So the knee points towards the sky, curl the heel in close towards the sit bone. Come up high into those lift tippy toes. Spin the left foot so that the toes point towards the right and heel points towards the left. Bend the left knee, look at it. Bend it enough where you can plant the whole sole of the left foot. Look down your left foot. Is the whole sole planted? If not, bend it more. You can tent the right fingertips if you need more space to do this. We're coming to a Vashisthasana variation. Lengthen the tailbone down, turn the core on, maybe start to peel the right arm up towards the sky. Right knee, right arm high. So it's just a Vashisthasana variation where our shoulder is behind our left wrist and the whole sole of the back foot is planted. It's a little bit more stable. Now, think about the shoulder. We talked about having to set the scapula. So I want you to think about that retraction we did at the beginning with the block of pulling the back shoulder blade onto the back body. You can really accentuate that by bringing your right arm up into cactus and thinking about squeezing your shoulder blades together onto the back body. Keep a micro bend into that left elbow. Lift the right knee up. One more breath here. And as you exhale, slowly release the right hand. Spin onto the left tippy toes. Cross the body. Touch the right knee towards the left tricep. Extend the right leg out. Place the knife edge onto the ground. Left arm up. Fall in triangle. And this time, we're just doing the opposite shoulder. Micro bend, wrap the tricep back, squeeze the shoulder blade onto the back body, bring the left hand up into cactus, squeeze the shoulder blades together and down. Lengthen the tail to keep this out of the low back. Beautiful. Next, exhale. Sprinkle your fingertips of your left hand back down to the mat, just your fingertips. Spin onto those left tippy toes. Suck your right knee in towards your right tricep. Hold it there. Push. Beautiful. Extend your right leg back long behind you, still on those left fingertips. Inhale. Exhale. Pull the knee forward. Press it into your tricep. Beautiful. Step your right foot carefully between your hands. Lower your left hand. Lower your left knee. Setting up for quad stretch. Inhale your right arm up towards the sky. Don't rush into this quad stretch though. It's a great place to pay attention to our shoulders and what we're doing with them because we have a tendency to just kind of drop this left shoulder forward, hyperextend through this arm, and we're not doing it any good here. So lift up out of that left shoulder, pull it onto the back body, keep the tricep wrap even as you reach up. Maybe take your arm as a cactus. Use the power of the back leg to try to kick yourself in the butt. And if this is uncomfortable on your back knee, you have a blanket or a towel roll, you can put it underneath there. Trying to kick yourself in the butt, and then stay on one of those top squeezes. Reach back, grab the outer edge of the foot. If you can't grab the outer edge of the foot, use your strap to do so. Push the foot into the hand into the foot, back out to go deeper. Bring your hips back to meet your heel or to get closer towards it. Keep that, and then lunge forward. And then reassess the shoulders. Scoop the left shoulder blade underneath you. Scoop the right shoulder blade back behind you and lift the sternum up towards the sky. Lengthen the tailbone down. Pull the navel in and up. Hug your right foot towards your left knee to turn on your legs. And get the stretch a little bit more into your left quad and your left psoas than your low back. Because that's the goal here, quad stretch, not low back stretch. One more inhale. And as you exhale, slowly release. Without flinging the back foot, lift up the back knee. Push your hands down and away from you so much so that you can again pick up the right foot, press the right knee into the tricep. Extend back, three-legged plank. Now, your option here, we're going to take a vinyasa variation, but you can do so in three-legged or you can lower your right leg down to the ground. So if you want to take three-legged chaturanga, tip forward, bring your shoulders past your wrists, hug your elbows in, lower halfway, keep the shoulders lifted, keep the core engaged, gently release the pelvis down to the ground, untuck the toes, keep the shoulders lifted, roll them up, down and back, and lift up into cobra pose. Tops of the feet are planted. Knees are lifted, tailbone tucked with the pubic bone pressing down. Squeeze your shoulder blades back, down, and together. Push the back of your skull back and breathe. You should never go so high in a back bend that you're in a place where you cannot find breath. Take one more inhale. And as you exhale, slowly release to your belly. All right, let's find a little bit more power of the back body here and of the shoulders. Sorry guys, gotta move the mic. So on our belly, we're gonna do something called locust swimmers. And again, this tend not to be people's favorite. I apologize. I like to do this with my feet starting about hip distance apart. Take your arms out to cactus. Now, the only thing we really want to worry about touching the ground here is our hip bones and our pubic bone, ideally. So think about pushing your pubic bone down into the mat without gripping your booty, right? We don't want to clench our booty because that sends the legs into external rotation. But we do want to tone the booty in order to use that strength to push the pubic bone down into the mat. The low belly in and up. And as you inhale, everything comes off the ground except for those hip bones and that pubic bone. Squeeze the shoulder blades down and together onto the back. So we're in this cactus arms locust pose. Legs are super strong. We're lifting up through the inner thighs. So we're trying not to externally rotate the legs. Take an inhale here. And then as you exhale, reach the arms out in front of you and squeeze the legs together. Beautiful. Inhale back to cactus. Lift the sternum up a little bit more. Exhale, squeeze the legs together. Reach the arms out in front of you. Lift them a little bit higher. Inhale, open, cactus. Exhale, reach forward, lift a little bit higher. One more time. Inhale, open, lift up through the sternum, pull the shoulder blades down, back and together. Exhale, arms forward, legs up, arms up, push the pubic bone down. Stay, take one more inhale. And exhale, release. Rest one cheek on the mat. Beautiful job, guys. And as you're ready, take your hands underneath your shoulders, push back, child's pose. Knees wide, feet together. Take a minute here to let your breath settle. A lot of times when we do these back bending postures, it can be a little bit intense on the breath. And then once you feel that breath soften, take your arms out in front of you if they're not already. Now, you have an option. You can either just take your hands into prayer and press your thumbs towards the back of your neck, or you can leave your arms straight out in front of you, push your forehead into the mat, tone your low belly, and see if pushing that forehead into the mat, you can lift your arms up. Now, you don't want to feel too much pressure on the neck, so if this feels really crunchy on the neck, don't worry about it and just take the prayer hands. But what we're trying to do, again, is get into that active mobility here, so this ability of our arms to lift themselves and open up the shoulders and not just rely on gravity or the weight of the rest of our body. If you need to back up a little bit so that your sit bones come a little bit closer towards your heels, because again, we want this to be safe on the neck. If this feels crunchy on the neck, please do not do it. Gently pushing the forehead. This is not a huge pressor. Gently pushing the forehead in so that we can lift the arms up. Maybe to hover, maybe to tiny pulse. Pull your low belly in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release and soften. As you inhale, sweep your arms back behind you, lift, peel up, and come into a baby camel. So pick yourself up and just gently open up the heart. We'll do a few of these, so don't worry about getting the rhythm too much right now. As you exhale, sink the sit bones down. As you inhale, come back to child's pose. Exhale to release. Let's try that again. Inhale, sweep the arms up back behind you, lift the hips, and open up into camel's pose. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, arms up in front of you. Exhale, child. One more time. Inhale, sweep the arms wide, lift the hips, baby camel. Exhale, lower the sit bones. Inhale, back to child. Exhale to soften. Inhale, round forward tabletop. We have to balance out our sides, right? Maybe we forgot about that. We're still on the first side. Now we got to do the second. Reset your tabletop. Wing your elbows wide. Wrap them towards the back of the mat. Hug your forearms in towards the midline. Kink your left leg so the left toes point towards the back left corner of the mat. Internal rotation here. Keep even weight in the hands and the shoulders. Push down through the inner edges, maybe a little bit more. And then keeping the set of the pelvis, lift the left leg up. Maybe the left thigh comes to parallel, but again, not sacrificing the rest of the body. So keeping even weight in the shoulders, keeping the right hip pulled over the right knee. And just starting to turn on that left leg, left glute. Bring it to the party. We're going to need both sides of our body here. Maybe taking itty bitty tiny pulses of the left toes towards the sky, as long as we can keep that tone of the low belly and keep the tailbone lengthening down so that we're not pulling into that anterior tilt or that spilling of the pelvic bowl forwards. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring your knee out to the side like you're a puppy peeing on a fire hydrant. Extend the left leg long, toes face forward, and place the left leg down. Beautiful. Coming back into that cat-cow motion here. Inhale, pull your heart through. Exhale, push down and away, pop up through the back of the heart. Inhale, pull the heart through. Exhale, push down and away, puff up so much that you can come up onto your fingertips and then peel your torso up, coming to upright. Back to our gate pose variations, hugging your left leg in towards your right knee here. Sliding your left hand down along your left leg, right arm up and over towards the left like we did in our side body stretch. Lengthen the tailbone down. So keep this out of the low back. And again, if you want that half bind, take the left hand around to the right side of the body and just press the back of the hand into the hip and the hip lightly into the hand. Thinking about lengthening through both sides of the torso here, reaching with those right fingertips. One more inhale. And as you exhale, peel back to the center. We'll take it to the other side, but first the half bind. Right arm comes around your back body and hooks onto your left hip. Push it into the hip and the hip into the hand. Inhale, the left arm up and over towards the right. Hug the left foot in towards the right knee to find strength and stability so that you can lean a little bit deeper. Lengthen the tailbone down. Length through both sides of the torso here. Don't crunch through the right side body. So it's almost like you're using the right hand as it pushes into the left hip to help lift up out of that right side body just a little bit more. One more breath. And as you exhale, pull yourself back up. Inhale for spinal length. And exhale, take your hands down in front of you. Use the strength of your outer leg to pick it back up. Pull your left leg behind you. Flex the foot, point it up towards the ceiling, point the sole of the foot up towards the ceiling. Set the pelvis, tent the right fingertips, really drill down through that left hand, wrap the triceps back, reach back, grab the foot. Again, you have the strap, keeping the low belly engaged to protect the low back. Kick the foot up towards the sky and away from you. Pull the foot with the hand and lift the heart. Hug the left knee in. Keep a micro bend into the left arm. Smile through the collarbones and breathe. Tiger pose variation. One more inhale. And as you exhale, release without slingshotting. Take the right hand down, extend the left leg, tuck the right toes, wrap the elbows towards the back of the mat, push the hands away from you, hover the right knee. One breath here. And as you exhale, use the strength of the left leg to pull you back. Three-legged dog, left leg is lifted. Once you're there, take some time to floss out the hip joint. Taking big circles with your left knee. If possible, keeping your left heel in close towards the sit bone so that the flossing or the lubrication goes to the hip joint and not the knee. Next time the knee is up, leave it there. High up under those right tippy toes. Spin the right foot over towards the left. Toes point towards the left, heel towards the right. Bend into the knee enough to plant the whole sole of the foot, coming up into the left fingertips. Back to our Vashisthasana variation. Left arm, left knee high. Lengthen the tailbone down. Cactus the left arm, and think about that scooping of the shoulder blades as we hug them onto the back body and down towards the hip points to lead lightly with our sternum towards the top of the mat. Lengthen the tailbone down. Take one more deep breath. And as you exhale, bring the left hand to the mat, spin onto the right toes, cross the body with the left knee, tap it towards the right tricep, extend the foot, fall in triangle, right arm comes up towards the sky, lengthen the tailbone down even as you lift the hips. Take the right arm towards cactus, squeeze them onto the back body and down. Micro bend into that left arm. You can gaze down to look at it, make sure you're not locking out. Breathe. Lengthen that tailbone down. One more inhale. And as you exhale, take the right hand back to the mat. Suck the left knee in, tap the tricep. Maybe you could stay on those right fingertips here. Extend the left leg long behind you. Pull it back into tap. And step the left foot between the hands. Lowering the right hand, lower the right knee. Setting up for a quad stretch again. Making sure we're not dumping into this right shoulder here, so pushing the ground down and away with the right hand, keeping the tricep wrap and the micro bend. Left arm comes up, and then cactuses to open the heart space. Use the right hamstring to pull the right heel in towards the sit bones. Again, you could put this on a blanket. Also, sometimes we're right on the patella or the bony part of the knee. You can back your knee up and see if that feels a little bit more comfortable. Next time you're on an up pulse, keep it there. Reach back, grab the outside edge of the foot or use your strap. Back your hips up to meet your heel or to get closer. Push the foot into your hand and your hand into your foot, and keep that as you lunge forward. Pull your shoulder blades down and together onto your back body to spiral your sternum up towards the sky, and magnetize your left heel towards your right knee until you feel your legs turn on too, as you lengthen your tailbone down, sending the stretch into the right quad and the right hip flexor. Push down through the inner edge of the right hand. Keep that shoulder nice and stable. One more inhale here. And as you exhale, release without slingshotting. Frame your left foot. Lift your right knee. Push down and away. Puff up. Tap your left knee to your left tricep. And extend back, three-legged plank. Again, your option for three-legged chaturanga or to put three-limbed chaturanga or to put the foot down. If you're following me in three-limbed, inhale, tip forward. Exhale, lower halfway, leave the shoulders lifted, collarbones wide. Release the sit bones and release the hip bones towards the ground. Peel yourself up into a cobra pose. Legs are super strong and engaged. Pubic bone pushing down towards the mat. Take one more deep inhale here. And as you exhale, lower to your belly. Taking an opportunity for another belly down back bend here, since this is also a heart opening class. We're going to be moving from no-handed cobra into a bound cobra hands. We do a lot of time in locust, but not necessarily in cobra. And so that means we have to be able to keep the ability of the chest lift through this. So that's really what we're doing here, is focusing on, can we use the back muscles to lift us and to do some of the work instead of just dumping into them? Can they actually pull us into this bend so that we can create the space to do this movement? So in order to do that, we need strong legs. Push down through the tops of the feet. Lift up the knees. Engage the quads. Push the pubic bone into the mat. Again, we tone in the glutes. We're not clenching them. Lift the low belly in and up. Roll your shoulder blades down together and back. Push the back of your skull back. And inhale, peel your chest and heart off the ground. Not too high. Use your hands to gently press yourself up a little higher, and then see if you can maintain that while you lift your hands from the ground. This is really hard to do when talking, but you do want to make sure that you can breathe. Keep the legs strong. Keep to the tops of the feet planted. That's really important here. Inhale, lift yourself up a little bit higher. As you exhale, maintain that length. Reach the hands behind you. Interlace your hands. Elbows in. Push the thumbs into the sacrum. Lift the shoulders up a little bit more. Roll them down, back, and together. One more inhale. Exhale, release. Rest your other cheek on the mat and soften. Beautiful job, guys. Going back into that child's pose to camel soup, but only do it one the rest of the time. So enjoy that little back bend while you can grab it. Put your hands underneath your shoulders. Push back, child's pose. Take one deep inhale here. One solid exhale to sink your torso between your thighs. And then as you inhale, sweep your fingertips towards the back of the mat. Use them to lift your hips up, lengthen your tailbone down, and open up into camel. Exhale, sink the hips down. Inhale, reach the arms out. And exhale, settle back into your child's pose. Inhale, rounds you forward, tabletop. And before we move on and adding on to our ladder flow and changing it just a little bit, I want to reinforce this idea of active versus passive mobility. So we're going to take puppy pose, which I talked about at the beginning, and we're going to take the passive variation. So if you're not sure what puppy pose is, it's keeping the hips over the knees, reaching the arms out, and getting a shoulder stretch. So for most of us, we joke about it in our teacher trainings, we call it Instagram puppy. But it's just reaching the arms out in front of us, keeping the hips over the knees, and just kind of like flapping. And we're like, yes, we look so photogenic right now. And maybe yours doesn't look like this. My shoulders are naturally pretty open, which means that's great for some things, but they're also unstable. But wherever you are, it's just using the weight of the body essentially to kind of flop into this pose and get this passive flexibility. So just using the weight of my body, the weight of gravity,
to get myself into this position. So enjoy it for a second, whatever that looks like for you in your body, as long as it doesn't feel bad on the low back. And then as you're ready, back out of it a little bit. You're going to want to take your hands maybe a palm's distance closer, because you're not going to be able to open up as far, at least for most people. Come up onto your fingertips, tent them like mountain peaks, and squeeze them towards the midline like you had butterflies underneath that you're trying to protect. When your elbows wide, now wrap them towards the back of the mat. Keep the hips over the knees and slowly start to sink the chest down towards the ground. Now, if you need to spread your fingertips out a little bit further, you can. But what we're trying to do is imagine squeezing a block between your forearms. And if you really want to, you can squeeze the block between your forearms and even between your inner thighs here to turn everything on. So how much flexibility do we have when we're keeping this wrap of the triceps, where essentially we're limiting the amount that we can squeeze the shoulder blades into retraction on our back because of this external rotation of the arms that's going to keep us out of, say, a dangerous place of mobility where we can over squeeze and kind of hurt that delicate and complicated shoulder joint. So you can walk your fingertips further a little bit. You're probably not going to get your arms towards the ground here if you really think about squeezing your forearms and keeping them parallel and the elbows bent and pointing down. And you should shake a little bit. It should not feel very pleasant. Whew. One more inhale here. Pull the low belly in to protect the low back. One more exhale. And slowly walk your hands back underneath your shoulders to tabletop. Gross, right? Instagram puppy is so much more fun. All right, let's move on and build onto this ladder flow, yeah? So we're just going to be building onto what we were doing before, taking some things out, changing them a little bit, but you do know what came before so that you can always go back, or you can take the optional challenges that I'll add in as well. But remember, everything is optional. Just because you did something yesterday or on one side doesn't mean you have to do it on the other. So please honor your body. Here in your tabletop, tuck your toes. Leave your left toes as they are, keeping the set of the pelvis, the low belly in. Set yourself up for a tiger pose prep. You can tense your left fingertips, or you can even take your left arm out in front of you. Now, we're going to lift up and back to three-legged dog. So it's your choice whether or not you want to keep your left fingertips tented or your hand flat, or maybe you want to challenge yourself and keep your left hand out in front of you. Use the power of the right hand pushing down. If it helps you, you can straighten out your right leg and use the power of the leg lifting, but keep the set of the pelvis here as you push your hand down and away from you and move back into your three-legged dog. Now, in your three-legged dog, keep the right leg bent and keep your left foot like a warrior 1 foot, so it's turned 45 degrees. Push your right heel up towards the ceiling, reach back with your left hand, challenge your balance a little bit. Maybe you grab onto that foot or use your strap, pull the foot into the hand into the foot. Woohoo! See what happens sometimes? It's okay. You got to use that pressure of the foot pulling into the hand and the hand into the foot to lift your heart up like cow pose. Hug your knee in as much as you can. One more inhale. And as you exhale, release without slingshotting. Coming into that Vashisthasana position, high up on those left tippy toes, spin to the outer edge of the foot. Bend the knee, plant the whole foot. Right arm, right knee high. Wrap the shoulder blades onto the back body. Lengthen the tailbone down. And here I want you to think about opening up the pelvis as much as you can towards the sky, which means you're really going to have to scoop the left shoulder onto the back body, but it should be feeling a little bit more open at this point. And what's the worst that happens is you fall. That's where we're going later anyway, and you put the right foot down behind you into Wild Thing. Ideally, we don't want to fall, we want to slow lower, but that's where we're going eventually. One more inhale, and then as you exhale, right hand comes down, spin onto those left tippy toes, cross the right knee towards the left tricep, and open up into your fallen triangle. Knife edge of the right foot onto the ground, cactus the left arm, pull your shoulder blades down and together onto your back, scooping your heart up towards the sky. All right, here's where it's going to get a little tricky here. Leave your left arm towards the sky. Now, it really helps me to lengthen mine up long. Push down through your right hand. Suck your right knee up towards your right armpit. You can stay on the flat left foot, or you can come up on your toes here, whatever feels more comfortable. Extend your right leg back behind you. Shoulder stability as well as strength. Slowly begin to, as if someone had their hand around your right ankle, pull your right leg back behind you, coming into this extended side plank position. Inhale back, pulls your knee towards your tricep. I know that was hard. Let's do it again. Exhale, bend into the left knee, sink your hips down, but hover them. Even if they go all the way to the ground, hover them. Inhale, lift back up. Even the dogs are pissed about this one. Exhale. Shoulder comes behind the wrist. Inhale, pulls you back up. Whew. Exhale, plant the left hand. Pull the foot in between the hands. Set up for crescent pose. That was hard, right, guys? But we need to be able to have stability of the shoulders, even in these open or mobile or flexible positions. Otherwise, what good is the flexibility? It's not very functional, is it? So walk your feet out on train tracks, maybe tiny pigeon toe of your right foot for balance. Hug your feet in towards the midline. Generous bend into the left leg, and inhale the arms up, crescent pose. Whew. We haven't stood up in a while, have we? Really tug the right hip back, left hip forward to square those hips towards the front of the mat, and keep a generous bend into the left knee here so that we can lengthen the tail down. Because a lot of times, what do we do here? The same thing we do in every posture. We dump into our low back, and we're not really stretching our quads or hip flexors. So bend that back leg, lengthen the tail down, lift the low belly in and up. Basket those ribs in. Arms up overhead. Now this gets a little bit complicated, but we're going to do it a few times so you guys will get it. As we circle the left arm forward and right arm back, you're going to drop the knee to tap, and then your arms will come back up together as you lift. Drop the knee to tap, left arm comes forward, right arm comes back, swimmer arms, back up. Again, left arm forward, right arm back, tap the knee, lift up. Go slower than you want to. Lower, lift, beautiful. Lower. Now this time as you lift, leave the arms open towards the side, open the hips up towards the left, warrior two. Tricky, right? Widen your stance if you need to. Set up heel to arch alignment, back foot's at 90 degrees. Reach your arms long. Set your shoulders over your hips. For most of us, that means pulling the shoulders back just a little bit. They tend to migrate forward. Root down through both feet, especially the knife edge, the back edge of that left foot, and then hug your legs in towards the midline until you can feel your inner thighs turn on. It's not a pleasant feeling for most of us, but it's okay. Lengthen the tail down, lift the low belly up. Inhale, pulls you forward. Exhale, maintain that length, tip it on back. Reverse warrior. Now you could take the half bind here, wandering that left hand around the back body and hooking it onto the right thigh. If it's there, push it down and away to find extra length through both side bodies here. Keep lunging deeply into that right leg. Breathe, lengthen the tailbone down. Now keeping the half bind if you have it, slowly pick yourself back up. Straighten or almost straighten the front leg. Reach the right arm forward. Triangle pose variation. So usually we just kind of collapse into our triangle here. Reach the right arm forward. Use the left hand pressing into the right thigh to help lift up off that leg. Squeeze the legs together. Don't hyperextend or lock out that right knee. Extended triangle variation. One more inhale. Beautiful. And as you exhale, plant the right hand outside of the right shin. You can bend into the knee if you need to here. Release the bind. Left arm comes towards the sky. Now, push down firmly through that right hand, and if it needs to be on a block, it can be, because we're moving from this position into a reverse wild thing, which is just a fallen triangle with that leg lifted. So push down through the right hand. Use the strength of that shoulder and that arm. Peel the heel off the ground, and then slide those right toes over towards the left until you can scoop the right leg off the ground. Beautiful. Tiny pulses of the right foot towards the sky. Work the inner thighs. Nice. One more inhale. And as you exhale, pull the right knee in towards the right armpit. Oh gosh, we're here again. It's okay. Not for long. Slowly extend the right leg back long behind you. Bring the left hand down. Back to our three-legged plank. Again, your choice whether or not you want to take this three-legged or not. Inhale, tip it forward. Exhale, lower halfway. Inhale, upward facing dog. Right leg is lifted. Inhale, back to chaturanga. Shoulder blades stay lifted. Exhale, lower the hips. Inhale to cobra. Whew. Exhale, lower the heart towards the sky. Sorry, the dogs are angry at the birds, guys. Here on our belly, let's take a minute to let the breath soften while we stretch out our right shoulder from that ordeal. So, taking prone shoulder stretch here. You could take the variation where your arm is out to a T, and I don't care where your arm is if you do that. It's ideal if it's directly out from the shoulder or less. But if you're going to take the cactus arm, which for most people is a little bit more intense, your elbow needs to come directly out of your shoulder so that you're not hurting your bicep tendon. All right. Push your hand into the mat gently. Curl your left heel in towards your sit bone. Roll onto your right side body and rest your right cheek onto the mat. Use your left toes like a kickstand. They can always rest on a block behind you. And just kind of soften and breathe into that right chest. So we have to do the left side, of course, but then we're going to be moving into Wild Thing from that Vashisthasana variation. And yes, we need open shoulders as far as bringing the shoulders up overhead, but we also need open pecs for Wild Thing, especially to lower slowly with control. So that's why we're getting a little bit extra love here in our shoulders before we move through our flow on the left side, and then the final time with the Wild Thing, and then we change it up. One more breath here. And slowly roll back to your belly. Hands underneath your shoulders. Push back child's pose. Knees wide, feet together. Again, taking our camel swoop here. Find yourself on an inhale. Sweep your arms back behind you. Lift your torso. Blossom open into that baby camel. Nothing crazy. Exhale, lower the hips. Inhale, arms reach forward. Exhale, child. Inhale, roll forward, tabletop. Let's even ourselves out here. All right, let's take it to the other side. Extend the left leg back long behind you and lift it up without losing the set of the pelvis. Tent the right fingertips. And again, you can keep them tented, just like we did on the other side, or you can extend them, or you can keep the palm planted. The left leg can stay bent or straight. Tuck those right toes, and then we're going to be using the strength of the left hand and the right toes to gently lift ourselves, woo, that's my hard leg, up to our three-legged dog. Keep the right arm extended in front of you. Take the back leg, the right leg, to the 45-degree angle like Warrior One. Bend into the left leg, reach back carefully. Grab the foot, lift up into your tiger pose variation, hug your left knee in, lift your heart up. Take a breath here. And as you exhale, slowly release. Reach the right hand down. Spin to the outer edge of the right foot, left knee, right arm high. We're back to this left knee, left arm high. We're back to this Vashisthasana position with the whole sole of the right foot planted. So bend your knee as much as you need to plant that sole of the foot. Cactus your left hand. Pull your shoulder blades onto your back body. Lengthen your tailbone down and here tip your pelvis up towards the sky as much as you can. Keep the right shoulder scooped onto the back body here. Push down through the inner edge of the hands. Lengthen the tail down. Take one more deep inhale. And again, remember, if you fall, you're just going to place those left tippy toes right behind you, so there's nothing to worry about. Slowly bring the left hand back down towards the ground. Cross the body, left knee towards the right armpit. Extend the left leg long. Fall in triangle, right arm towards the sky. Lift the hips, cactus the arms, pulling them onto the back body. Arc the sternum up towards the sky. Slowly pull the left leg back in until you can tap the left tricep with the left knee, and then we're going into those side lunges here. So bringing the shoulder back behind the wrist, extend the left leg long, bend into the right leg, hover the left hip, even if you reach the ground, hover it. Pull it back to tap. Extend to hover. I know it's hard. Shake a little bit. Pull it to tap. Last time, extend to hover. Pull to tap. Release the right hand towards the ground. Pivot onto the right tippy toes. Step the left foot between the hands. Set up for your crescent pose, maybe walking your feet on train tracks. Pull your feet together. Inhale your arms up. Generous bend into the right knee here. Lengthen the tailbone down. Lift the pubic bone up. Arms up, overhead. Send this stretch into the right quad and the right hip flexor instead of the low back, because that's the point here. Magnetize your feet towards the midline. Tug the left hip back and right hip forward. Coming into those arm circles on this side, slowly we're going to bring the right arm forward, left arm back. Lower the knee. Lift it up as the arms swing towards the sky. Lower the right arm forward, left arm back, lower the knee. Bring it up. Slower than you want to. Lower to tap the knee gently with control. Lift. lower, lift. Last time, lower, lift and open to warrior two, facing the right side of your mat. Lengthen out your stance here. And again, set up your warrior two for success. Bend deeply into the front leg, shift your shoulders back over your hips, root down through the knife edge of your back foot. Long through the arms, squeeze your shoulder blades gently together onto your back and down for a long neck. Pull the low belly in and up. Inhale, reaches you forward. Exhale, tips it on back, keeping the length here. You can stay, keeping length through both sides of the torso, or take the half bind, reaching your right arm around to grab onto your left hip. Use that hand to press onto the left hip to find a little bit of extra space onto the right side body. Keep lunging deeply into the left leg. Inhale. Exhale, lifts you back up to straighten or almost straighten into that left leg. Coming to the triangle pose variation, keeping the half bind if you can. Reach the left arm forward, send the hips back for counterbalance, but lengthen the tail down. We have a big tendency in triangle pose to go into that anterior tilt or to dump the pelvis forward. So could lengthen the tailbone down, pull the navel in and up, reach a little bit more. Push down with the right hand onto the left hip to find a little bit more space, maybe dip a little bit deeper. I know. Slowly release the bind. Take the left arm to the ground, some circles with the right arm. Then we're coming back into that transition here. Reach the right arm towards the sky. Use the power of the left hand. Scoop the shoulder blade onto the back body to peel the left foot out in front of you. Back to our reverse wild thing. Tap the knee in towards the tricep. Bring the right hand down. Three-legged plank. And again, you can skip the three-legged variation and just meet us on our belly, or you can follow through. Inhale, forward. Exhale, chaturanga halfway. Inhale, upward facing dog variation with the three legs. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, lower the pelvis, cobra pose. Shoulder blades roll down and together onto the back body. Slowly lower the chest to the ground, and we'll take the other side for our prone shoulder stretch. So left arm comes out, either straight in a T or in that cactus stretch. If you're doing the cactus, the elbow comes directly out from the shoulder. So take a minute to look at that. Tense your right fingertips, curl your right heel in towards your sit bone, and roll onto your left side body. I'm not going to do that because I got the mic that I'm going to squish the mic pack on there, but try to relax into this and use your right toes as your kickstand. Rest your cheek onto the mat and open up into that left pack. Give it a little bit of love. You might find that one shoulder is different than the other. They usually are. We're not perfectly balanced, and especially when it comes to our arms, if we're left-handed or right-handed, things aren't always the same. Take one more inhale here. And then as you exhale, slowly roll back to the belly. Place your hands underneath your shoulders. Push back, child's pose. Coming back to our camel swoop here. As you inhale, sweep your arms back around behind you, lift your hips, blossom your heart open, bloom into your camel. Exhale, release your sit bones down. Inhale, reach your arms forward. Exhale, child's. Inhale, rounds you forward, tabletop. Last round here of the flow. And then I'll give you guys some options to play, and then we'll wind down a little bit. Let me adjust this mic wire that keeps catching on my hair. And remember, you can always go back to something that we've done before. Tuck your toes. Keep your left leg as it is. Extend your right leg. Maybe you bend it. Again, maybe you extend that left arm out in front of you as we come into our three-legged dog position, or not. Keep the tricep wrapped on the right arm. Slowly with control, lift back, three-legged dog, or two-legged dog actually. Spin the left foot to 45 degrees. Reach back. Tiger pose, lift the heart through the biceps. Pull the navel into the spine to protect the low back. One more inhale here. Exhale, release. Extend the right leg here. You either have the choice to pulse the right heel towards the sky, leading with the right inner thigh, so we want internal rotation a little bit with that leg. Or if chin stand is in your practice, feel free to go ahead and take one, carefully lunging forward and using your chin as a kickstand. But if chin stand is not in your practice, or you feel like there's weight in the chin, or you're not sure how to do it, please do not. It's just a simple option. Not simple, but it's just an option for people who would like to take that. Otherwise, stay with this nice pulse. If you're in chin stand, slowly make your way out of it. Use the strength of the right leg to pull you back to your three-legged dog. Inhale high on the left tippy toes. Swivel to the outside edge of the foot, prepping for our Vashisthasana. Bend the leg so you can plant the whole sole of the foot. Right arm, right knee high. Lengthen the tailbone down. Begin to spin that pelvis up as you scoop the left shoulder blade onto the back body. So much so, are you turning the pelvis that the heart starts to tip. Maybe you can reach those right toes behind you. And then lift. Behind you. And then lift. And behind you to stay. Take your right hand behind your head. Push your head into your hands, hands into your head. Arc your sternum up towards the sky as you wrap your left shoulder underneath you, pushing down through the inner edge of the hand. One more breath here. And as you exhale, come back through your Vashisthasana carefully. Slowly lower the right hand. Cross the body, bringing your right knee towards your left tricep. Extend the leg, maybe this time leaving it off the ground. As you bring your left arm overhead, you can stay here or you can challenge yourself by tapping the right toes forward. Yeah, right, quads and hip flexors do not like this one. Next time you tap forward, pull your knee into your tricep, and then we'll take a few of those extended planks. So extend your right leg long, hover the hip, tap, bend into the left knee, hover, tap, bring the shoulder back, last one. And tap, bring your right hand down, left hand down, sorry. Rights and lefts are confusing in this one. Plant your right foot between the hands. Inhale, pulls you up, crescent pose. We'll take a few of those circles quickly here. Left arm down, right arm back. Drop the knee, lift, drop the knee, lift, drop the knee, lift. Keep the tailbone low, drop the knee, lift. Last time, drop the knee, open up warrior two towards the left side of the mat. Beautiful. Now, option to stay in what we did before with the half bind, or if you'd like to take cow face pose, I find it easier to take it before we go into the reverse warrior. So the left arm comes back behind you, the right arm comes overhead, move your hair out of the way. You have your strap here, or you could take the half bind or no bind. Inhale, reaches you forward. Exhale, tips it on back into warrior, reverse warrior, bending deeply into that right knee. Lengthening the tailbone down. Keeping length through both sides of the torso. One more inhale. Exhale, pulls you back to straight. Work your right leg towards straight, keeping a micro bend there. Magnetize your feet in towards the midline. And come into triangle pose, keeping this cow face bind if you can, if it's comfortable. Or go back to that half bind with the left arm wrapped around the body. If you're in the cow face, think about reaching the right elbow forward as you reach to the knife edge of the left foot back. Breathe. Arc the sternum towards the left. One more inhale. And as you exhale, release the bind. Right hand outside of the leg, left arm circles. Give yourself some love in that shoulder. That can be hard, especially that internal rotation. With the right hand in line with the right foot, reach the left arm towards the sky, tap the tricep, take one more lunge, dip it on back. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Is our reverse warrior. So take it into reverse warrior. There you guys go. Pulse the knife edge of the foot towards the sky. Then do your tricep tap. Then why not? Let's just take another one of those squats. Yes. Pull the knee in. Come into your three-legged plank. Forward. Exhale, lower chaturanga. Keep the shoulders lifted. Inhale, upward facing dog variation. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, lower. Inhale, push back, child's pose. Exhale to stay. Inhale, sweeps your arms back behind you. Open up the heart. Exhale, lower the hips. Inhale, reach the arms forward. Exhale, child. Inhale, forward, tabletop. Last side, guys. Tuck the toes. Keep the right leg as is. Extend the left leg long. or bend the knee, flex the foot towards the sky. Again, you have the choice to tent the right fingertip or extend the right arm. My left shoulder's a little wonky, so I'm going to, work with my body and my unique anatomy for what works best for me, and I encourage you to do the same thing. Wrap your left tricep back and push your way back to your three-legged dog. Here you can lift your right arm, turn your right foot towards 45 degrees. Be careful of the knee. Reach back. Tiger pose variation. Lift the heart through the biceps. Slowly release without slingshotting. Rotate your leg to square your hips. Pulses here, or take the chin stand. Again, if that's in your practice, it can usually help to shorten the down dog first. But I'm not teaching chin stand today, so if you're not fully 100% comfortable with it, please don't do it. I'll put up a tutorial on how to do it another time. If you're in chin stand, slowly find your way back to three-legged dog. Bend the knee, open up the hip, come into your Vashisthasana. Left arm, left knee high. Lengthen the tailbone down, pull the shoulders onto the back body. Tilt the pelvis up towards the sky, so much so that the heart starts to follow. Maybe the left toes come down to the mat. And then lift, and then lower, and then lift, and then lower to stay. Left arm comes behind the head. Push the head into the hands, a hand into the head. Scoop the shoulders onto the back body. And breathe. Lengthen the tailbone down to keep this out of the low back. Inhale, gaze at the top of the mat. Exhale, find your way back into Vashisthasana. Exhale, lower the left hand, cross the body. Tapping the left arm towards the right tricep. Extend the left leg to our reverse wild thing. Now you can stay here. You can pulse the leg towards the sky, or you can tap those left toes forward. Giving your hip flexors some love. Next time they tap forward, keep them there. Pull the knee into the tricep. Again, we'll take some of those dips. Extend the left leg. Pull the hips back to hover. And tap the tricep. Extend back. Tap the tricep. Last time. Extend back. Tap the tricep. Slowly take the hand down. And step your left foot between the hands. Setting up for crescent pose. Inhale your arms up. As you exhale, right arm comes forward, left arm comes back. Dip the knee and lift. Dip the knee. Lift. Dip the knee. Lift. Dip the knee. Lift. Last one. Dip the knee. Open warrior two. Here in your warrior two, we're coming back into that cow face variation. So this time, if you'd like to take cow face, it's the right arm that goes back behind you into internal rotation, the left arm that goes up overhead into external rotation. And it helps me to set that up first. Inhale reaches you forward. Exhale tips it on back, keeping length through both side bodies. Bend deeply into that left leg. Magnetize your feet towards the midline. One more inhale here as you lengthen the tailbone down. Exhale to lift out. Straighten or almost straighten into the left leg. Inhale, tips you forward. Left elbow reaches forward. Right hip reaches back. Lengthen the tail down here. It's really important to get this out of the low back. Get this out of anterior tilt. Micro bend into the left knee. Push down through the big toe mound and the heel. You can always release to that half bind if that's more comfortable for you. Find length through both side bodies. Length through the crown of the head. One more inhale. And then as you exhale, release the bind. Left hand comes down. Right arm comes up. Take some gentle circles here. Whew, that can be intense. And just so we match the other side, let's first take a tap of the tricep. One back squat. And then we'll come back into our reverse wild thing. Take some small pulses. Tap the knee to the tricep. One more last side squat of the practice. Slowly come back to the tap. Bring the right hand down. Three-legged plank. Tip forward. Beautiful. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, chaturanga. Shoulders stay lifted. Inhale, cobra pose. Exhale, child's pose. Inhale, sweep the hands up back behind you. Open up into camel. Exhale, lower the sit bones. Inhale, forward. Exhale, child's pose. So here's the point in the practice where, depending on how you're feeling, if you're feeling nice and warm and you still have energy, this is where you can pause the video and take as much time as you want to for free play. Whether that's working on a specific back bend or another shoulder opener, anything that we've been doing, anything that's in your personal practice that you're looking to hone, that's fine. If you know what authentic movements is, I've talked about it in some of my other flows, but it's pretty much just free form playtime, not worrying about balancing out both sides. It's okay if we only do it for 5 to 10 minutes, just focusing on creativity, trying to find some new fun transitions. You can do that if you need to just hang out in child's pose, but I'm going to start winding us down essentially after this. So if you feel like you want more playtime, it's a great thing about online videos. Just pause it and do whatever you need. Otherwise, I will meet you back in a tabletop position when you are ready. So starting to close down the practice here. From your tabletop, tuck your toes, wing your elbows wide. Wrap your triceps back, pointing your elbows towards the back of the mat. Keep a generous bend into the arms. Suck your navel in towards your spine. Push your hands down and away from you. Cover your knees. Pushing your hands down and away from you so much so, lift your hips up and back, downward facing dog. Now, all we need to do is get our hands back and stand up. And you can walk your hands back if you want to, or you can do something that they do in Recc, which is a pop back. Or I'm sure they have another fancy name for it, but that's what one of my teachers always called it, a pop back, which is essentially just hopping your hands back. So if you feel like you still have strength in your arms, you can inhale forward, almost like we do with cow pose, bend into the elbows, and pop back. You need a nice strong core and a nice strong back and legs, clawing your toes into the ground to do that. If you want to try it a few more times, feel free. Inhale forward, exhale, hop back, and I like to spread my arms wide and claw my toes into the earth. One more time just for fun. Inhale forward, exhale, pop. Take your hands to your hips. Whew. Come up to stand. Walk your way into the middle of your mat. Side body stretch just really quick. Inhale your arms up overhead. Exhale, take your right hand to your left wrist and tug it over towards the right side. Lengthen your tailbone down. Lift your sternum up. Send breath into your whole left side body. One more inhale to pull you back. Exhale to release the hands. Flip the grip. Left hand grabs right wrist. Pull it on over towards the left. Lengthen the tail down. We have a tendency to put this in the low back, just like everything. Reach the sternum up. Hips slide right. Arms slide left. And release. Whew. Roll out the wrists. Just one little activity before we start to cool down. Of course, we do have to do it on both sides, so I apologize. We're down evenly through all four corners of your right foot. Pull your left knee in towards your chest. Take your arms up overhead, Kali Mudra grip. So all fingers are crossed except for the pointer and the thumbs, which reach up towards the sky. Turn your left knee out, almost like a floating tree pose. Internally rotate it, point your toe, and then think about kicking your right toe or your left toe over towards your right hip. Lengthen your tail down while you do this. Keep this position of the arms. Tuck your left knee behind your right calf. Shiva squat slides. Inhale to drip down. Exhale to slide the knee back up like a zipper. Inhale to drip all the way down towards the ankle. Exhale, zipper up. You can use audible exhales here. Inhale, drip down. Exhale, slide it back up. Inhale down. Exhale, This time, inhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower all the way to a seat and readjust for half Lord of the Fishes. Sneaky, sneaky. Root down evenly through both sit bones. Sprinkle your right fingertips outside of your right hip. Inhale your left arm up and over. Exhale, pull your navel towards your spine. Spin towards the right. Now here you have the choice to either grab and hug your leg, or if you want the deeper expression of the posture, to hook your tricep outside of your thigh. Pushing the thigh into the tricep into the thigh. But let's move this bend up higher. So pull your navel in towards your spine and think about spinning your sternum over towards the right. Gaze follows the direction. Again, that your sternum is pointing. One more inhale. And exhale, release to the counter twist. Catch your spine, pull your navel in and up, dump your brain, and just curl towards the left. Puffing up through the back of the heart, sucking your navel in and up, and really think about puff, puff, puffing the back of the heart as if you could touch it towards the sky. Next inhale pulls you forward. Exhale, take your hands behind your back. Inhale, Vegas showgirls. Widen your legs out a little bit, maybe give them a little wiggle as you squeeze the knees. Nice. Put your feet down, scoot your booty up. Use your hands around your shins to inhale and pull your heart through. Exhale, round and cat the spine. Inhale, pull your heart through. Exhale, round and cat the spine. Release the hands. Use the strength of the core and the back body. Keep the feet planted, slowly lower all the way towards the earth. Excuse me, zipper. We're just using some little drills to reintegrate the core area in case you got into your low back at all. Place your hands by your hips. Bring your legs up towards the sky. Think about putting on really tight leggings. Your legs are super strong. Flint your toes. Push your big toe mounts together. And then just 1 millimeter. Think about lifting your tailbone and lowering. Lifting your tailbone and lowering. You should feel your low belly turn on. Maybe your neighbor can't tell that you're doing anything, but you sure feel it. You can even take one hand to your belly. Is something happening? Yes. Is something happening? Yeah. Keep lifting and lowering. Lifting and lowering. Do 2 more. And on your second one, lift and hold. Hold, hold. Take your arms towards the sky. Lift your shoulders off the ground. Lift your tailbone a little bit higher. Suck your navel in towards your spine. Lift everything a little bit higher. Lift a little bit higher. And as you exhale, release your tailbone, release your shoulders, and come into dead bug. So think about as if you stuck your limbs into a vat of pudding, and you just have enough muscular engagement to hold them there. Nice. Leave your legs as they are. Take your right arm over your left and then drop them. Give yourself a hug. Just taking a light counter pose to all of the retraction that we did by giving ourselves a little bit of passive protraction here. If you want something a little deeper, you can walk and cross your elbows more. You can even take the outer edges of your mat and pull them away from each other. Sometimes that feels really good. My legs are still shaking a little bit. They must not have liked those Shiva squat zippers. My arms can do this all day, but my legs not so much. And I'll let you guys in on a little secret. The whole second half of this class, this is the second time I filmed it because Miss Erin Kelly called me. And I was on airplane mode, but I forgot that I still had Wi-Fi on, and she FaceTime called me. And I didn't realize that the video stopped. So yeah, I'm pretty tired. I did most of this hard stuff twice, just for fun. It was my fault for not turning off Wi-Fi. Slowly release. Take your hands behind your thighs and rock. Just 3 times, all the way to a stand. Let's finish it up with the other side. Root down evenly through all 4 corners of the left foot. Pull your right knee in towards your chest. Beautiful. Extend your arms up into that Kali Mudra grip. Open your leg up to that floating tree. Internally rotate. Try to keep the tailbone lengthened down. Curl the right heel back behind you as if you could kick your left booty with your right ankle. And then tuck your right knee behind your left. As you inhale, drip your right knee down. Exhale, zipper back up. Remember, you can use audible exhales. Inhale, lower. Exhale, shoo, zipper. Inhale, lower. Exhale, shoo. Inhale, lower. Exhale, shoo. Inhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower all the way, prepping for your half Lord of the Fishes. Yes. You guys got it. Sprinkle your left fingertips outside of your left hip. Inhale your right arm up and over. Exhale, twist to the left. Maybe you give your leg a hug. Maybe you go a little bit deeper, taking your right tricep to the outer edge of your left knee. Inhale to lift you. Exhale, navel towards your spine. Just spin a little bit more as you spin your sternum, not your belly, towards the left. Your lower body drills down and towards the right, just like we did at the beginning. 1 more inhale. And as you exhale, release to the counter twist. Sprinkle your fingertips down, bow your head, dump your brain, and catch your spine. Sucking your navel in enough to protect your low back, but other than that, not really thinking about much. Send a big ballooning inhale up through the shoulder blades. And as you exhale, slowly come back to center. Take your hands behind you. Inhale, open up your legs. Vegas showgirl. Squeeze the knees. Maybe give them a little shake. Place your feet down. Scoot your hips forward. Hands to your shins. Inhale, up. Exhale, cat. Inhale, up. Exhale, cat. Pull your navel towards your spine. Plant your feet firmly. Release your hands. Lower for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Onto your back body. We'll do a couple more of those tailbone lifts. Take your hands by your hips. Lift your legs. Straighten them. Push the big toe mounts together. And then inhale, lift up. And exhale, lower. Inhale, lift up. And exhale, lower. Keep going. And remember, the toes are lifting straight towards the ceiling. We're not pointing them back towards our face or towards the top of the mat. It's just straight up. It's a very tiny movement that usually has a very big feeling associated with it. Keep going. You take one hand to your belly to make sure it's working. Just re-knitting the bottom half of our body here. Do 2 more. And on the second one, hold. Lift the arms, lift the shoulders, lift the head. Lift everything up towards the sky a little bit more. Suck your navel towards your spine. Lift up. Keep breathing. Lift up. Lift up. Lift up. And release the shoulders and the hips back to the earth. Again, you're floating and putting in this dead bug. Yeah, I hope there's not a dead bug in your pudding. Leave your legs as they are across your left arm, over your right, and then drop. Give yourself a hug. You can stay here. If you want more, you can think about pulling your arms more in opposite directions or even grabbing the outside edges of your mat and pulling them away from each other for a nice stretch at the back of the heart. The legs are just active enough so that they're staying floating in the air here. Nothing major. Man, my left hamstring is just having a field day over there with this little shivers and shakes. One more inhale. Exhale, slowly release. Bring your feet to the ground. Leave the left foot as it is. Hug the right knee in towards the chest. And then take it into half happy baby. Flexing the foot. Dropping the knee towards the armpit. Release the foot. Keep a really strong flex of the foot. And also think about your little pinky toe karate chopping away from you. Shaw! So that we're not sickling at the ankle at all. Not a huge karate chop, just a really little, as if you're pushing against something that's imaginary, that's there. Keep that. All that activation of the foot. Cross the right ankle over the left thigh. And the reason we do that is we want to strongly secure our ankle just like we strongly secure our pelvis all the time so that we're protecting the knee, right? We want to protect the knee. We want the stretch to be in the hip, not the knee, not the ankle. So that's what we do with the flex of the foot and the karate chop of the pinky toe away from us. Stay here or pull your legs in towards your chest. Grab your hands around your thigh or your shin. Now we have a tendency here to, I don't care what you do with your left foot, you can flex it or point it, but just make sure the right foot is flexed and active and karate chopping. So what we tend to do is kind of drip to the right hip. So since the stretch is different on both sides, I like to rock back and forth. But you can do whatever you want. I like to move into the areas where I feel more sensation, as long as that sensation is like that deep, achy sensation of stretching and not sharp nerve pain, right? We don't want that. Nobody wants that. Even if you feel like you're really tough. Let's avoid that. Especially in something like the shoulder or the knee. Yeah. One more inhale. And as you exhale, keep the position of the legs. Release the hands. Put the left foot back on the ground. Pick up the hips. Move them to the right like 3 inches. And then drop your legs over towards the left. Now, the bend or the twist is in our low back. We want to get that out of there. So push the left elbow down, the back of the head down. Lift up the torso. Spin it more towards the right so that you can get the right shoulder down a little bit more and then release. So now we've moved the twist up higher towards mid-back, thoracic spine, which loves rotation, and lumbar does not so much. You can use your left fingertips as a kickstand. And if that feels really intense as you push your right leg away from you, what you can do is push your right leg back into your fingertips with about 20% pressure. So both fingers and legs are pushing into each other with about 20% pressure. And all that does is turn on the muscles that we are trying to stretch. It's kind of a little bit what we talked about at the beginning, about this idea of active mobility versus passively just falling into a posture. So when the muscles are turned on, we can obviously, and firing and contracting and shortening, We can obviously go less deep into a posture, but usually that means it's a little bit more stable for us, right? So even if we can't go all the way in, we might be doing more benefit if we back out a little bit and turn things on a little bit more. One more breath. And slowly release, roll back to center. Uncross, straighten both legs. After flexion, it could be nice to get a little extension. Squeeze the knees, roll the ankles, and then slide the feet back. Knees point towards the sky. Switch to the other side. Pull the left knee in. Flex the foot, half happy baby. Release the foot. Flex it really firmly. Karate chop pinky toe away. Keep the activation of the ankle as you cross. You could stay here or pull the legs in, grabbing behind the thigh or the shin. You could stay here, keeping the really firm flex of those left toes and the karate chop of the pinky toe away, or you can rock. Again, getting into those areas of sensation. One more inhale. And as you exhale, slowly release. Keep the figure four position. Keep the flex of the foot. Push the right toes in. Lift the hips up. Scoot them to the left. Drop the legs to the right. My left foot is still flexed here. Press the right elbow in the back of the head into the mat. Lift the torso. Spin it towards the left to bring the left shoulder down. Release and soften. Or use your right fingertips as a kickstand to push into your left inner thigh as your left inner thigh pushes back into you. Starting to soften any holds you have on your breath here. Return a little bit more to the natural rhythm. You're almost done. One more deep inhale. And as you exhale, slowly go back to center. Unwind the legs, straighten, squeeze the knees. Arms up overhead. Reach long. Long, 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 long. Take one more deep inhale. And as you exhale, side out the mouth. Release into the ground. Now, if you have anything else that you feel like would be nice in your practice, if you want another twist, an eagle twist might be nice. Pulling everything back to center. If plow pose or shoulder stand or something you feel safe and comfortable doing on your own, you're welcome to. I won't be guiding anyone through them. And if you want to finish up, you're welcome to take any Shavasana variation that you want. I'm going to take constructive rest just because after back bending my low back, even if I'm really careful, always feels a little bit iffy. So I like to minimize the natural curve since I'm already hypermobile there with constructive rest. So that's feet wide, knees together. I lift the hips, lengthen the tailbone down, and then lower onto the mat. And even here, there's still a curve in my low back. It's just a little bit more limited. I'm going to walk the shoulder blades down and together. Extend my arms long. And release my hands to the mat. Close my eyes. And use the last structured breath here to soften the space between my eyebrows, soften my jawline, and sink or melt into the mat. Even if you're still doing a few additional postures or you're already in another variation of Shavasana, I do encourage you, we worked pretty hard today, to stay for at least 3 to 5 minutes, if not longer, here in any Shavasana of your choice. And that's just a comfortable position where you can completely relax with your eyes closed, if possible, but they don't have to be. If the eyes are open, try to keep a soft gaze. And all you're trying to do is give your body time to digest and download all the seeds planted today. I realized that there was a lot of information and you couldn't probably take in all of it at once, but that's one of the nice things about these online classes is you can come back. Or maybe another teacher will one day say something slightly different and you'll be like, oh, that's what she was talking about when she did that one cue. You know, everybody has a slightly different way of expressing these things, and that's one of the great things about there being so many options out there as far as different schools and different teachers of yoga. So I do encourage you to go out there and find people who will push you in a safe way, but also different voices and different manners of expression that resonate with you and that you feel passionate about and you feel work really well in your body. please do allow yourself this time to download and time for your body to reset. And once you are finished, please come out of it slowly. Reintegrate slowly, have some water. And if you enjoyed practicing with me today and you'd like to see another video, please comment below about what you might like to see. I do have some other videos up there in a variety of levels, as well as more packages of organized videos on authenticmovements.com with Erin Kelly. I have videos up there about arm balances and inversions for a variety of levels, as well as starting yoga, so like your first 5 yoga classes. And I also have a variety of ebooks about starting yoga, backbends, handstand pressing, and those can be found on my website as well, which is just casa-colibri.com. Thank you guys so much for practicing with me today. I'm sorry about all the noisy puppy dog nonsense and the jungle sounds and please take all the time you need here.